day. And this happened. 2 Kings 9 verse 30. When Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face and tired her head and looked out at a window. And Jehu entered in at the gate. She said, Had Zimri peace who slew his master? And he lifted up his face to the window and said, Who is on my side? Who? And there looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs. And he said, Throw her down. So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses, and he trod underfoot. And when he was come in, he did eat and drink, and said, Go see how now this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter. And they went to bury her, but they found none more of her than the skull and the feet and the palms of her hands. Wherefore they came again and told him, and he said, This is the word of the Lord which he spake by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel. And the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field in the portion of Israel, so that they shall not say, This is Jezebel. Where did Jezebel die? Where Naboth was executed, Jezreel, as prophesied by Elijah. I had made this study a while ago. It seems like I do remember making it a bit longer, but I must have shortened it at one point. I just want to mention that the Biblewheel pattern is also related to the numbers mentioned in the text. And we were comparing the 11th book of the first cycle, which is 1Kings, with the 11th book of the second cycle, which is Micah, which I'll show you once again. First Kings is here, Micah is here. But it also relates to the 1100 shekels mentioned in Judges 16 and 17. It was Delilah who betrayed Samson, her lover, for 1100 shekels of silver, and with the same motive. The same motive as Micah 7:5, where it says, Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide, keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. And both in Ahab and Samson, they both had a Gentile wife. Ahab's wife is Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, who was king of the Zidonians, which is Lebanon. And Samson's wife was Philistine, Delilah. Judges 16 verse 5. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, Delilah that is, and said unto her, Entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1100 pieces of silver. And Delilah said unto Samson, Tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherein thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. And Samson said unto her, If they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then shall I be weak and be as another man. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withs which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. I'm not going to read the rest of the story. You would be able to read it in Judges 16. It's just to illustrate you the 1100 pieces of silver is related to the betrayal, or Micah, I believe it was Micah 7:5. Micah 7:5. And which eventually Samson was betrayed by by the one that was lying in his bosom, or he was lying in her bosom. And the next place where 1100 was mentioned was the following chapter. Judges 17:1, and there was a man out of Mount Ephraim whose name was Micah. See, there's another man by the name of Micah, and you see how it's related to the prophet Micah in the 11th book of the second cycle, or the 33rd book overall. This Micah is another person, and he was not a man of God, but the way it was related to him it shows that in the next verse. And he said unto his mother, The 1100 shekels of silver that were taken from thee, about which thou cursest and spakest also in mine ears, behold, the silver is with me, I took it. And his mother said, Blessed be thou the Lord of the Lord, my son. But what happens is that the 1100 shekels of silver was used to build a graven image, as the following verse mentions. And when he had restored the 1100 shekels of silver to his mother said, I had wholly dedicated the silver unto the Lord from my hand for my son, to make a graven image and a molten image. Now therefore I will restore it to thee. You see the confusion? First he says unto the Lord, and then she decides to make a graven image. And yet he restored the money unto his mother, and his mother took the 200 shekels of silver and gave them to the founder, who made thereof a graven image and a molten image, and they were in the house of Micah. Well, he did mention 1100 shekels of silver, and in this case it mentions 200 shekels of silver were used. 2 is probably referring to the second commandment, which said, Thou shalt not make unto me any graven images.